Herman was a fairly well-known businessman in the city. Despite his wealth, he remained a kind, compassionate man, and, as they say, absolutely simple. He was not tempted by foie gras and black caviar with truffles. He liked usual food, like his mother used to cook for him in his childhood, and no molecular cuisine was even close to it. However, his fiancée Christine had different tastes. Ragout, meat pie? No, she would like a fresh croissant, and certainly in France, watching the Eiffel Tower. Herman's relatives and friends, knowing his lifestyle and character, sincerely could not understand how he could get involved with such a girl. But love is evil. You never know who you will fall in love with. Christine was a very attractive girl. Her beautiful figure and milk chocolate-coloured skin made her attractive to any man. And, as Christine herself believed, her beauty had no equal after she had corrected her lips and cheekbones with a plastic surgery. The girl had long, thick straw-coloured hair, and her huge blue eyes looked so sincere and naive that Herman had no chance against her. Moreover, Christine was extremely charming and knew how to use her attractiveness. She was lively and, importantly, always laughed at Herman's jokes at the right time. She showed extreme interest in the business and hobbies of her man, and took care of him after a hard day. And, in bed, she demonstrated miracles. So shortly after they met, Herman and Christine were already living together in his house. The 3-story house had a huge territory with a fruit garden, a swimming pool, and a gazebo with a barbecue area. Therefore, in addition to the owner and his bride, there were often workers in the house. Sometimes the services of a gardener were necessary, sometimes a plumber. Herman always hired people responsibly. After all, he invited them under his roof. Christine was less interested in household matters than in her manicure, so she didn't interfere. But one day, the businessman hired a woman with a criminal past. Mary was a quiet, kind woman, about 45 years old. She came to him to ask for a position as a cleaner. She heard of the vacancy from her previous employer, who had left with his family for the capital city, and now Mary was looking for a new job, but few people wanted to hire a woman with a criminal record. So, the job at Herman's house was essentially necessary for her. Moreover, it promised not only a good salary, but also food and a room. Looking at the woman sitting modestly in front of him, Herman was amazed. It was impossible to recognize the former inmate in Mary. She was neat, with a kind smile and a sad look. "How did you end up in prison?" Herman asked directly. The woman didn't even think of getting offended or lying, and answered with a sad smile that she was imprisoned because of love. "I was stupid, fell in love with the wrong person, and I'm still paying for it." "I don't recall such an article in the criminal code," Herman smirked. "Yeah, I had another article." The woman shook her head and told her employer her story. It turned out that Mary had a man named Jerry. He was good, played the guitar, he was very handy and could do everything around the house. But over time, the woman began to notice that Jerry was changing for the worse. He became twitchy, irritable. He could disappear without explanation for a couple of days and then reappear at the doorstep as if nothing had happened and ask for forgiveness. And then the irreparable happened, which divided Mary's life into before and after. Men in uniform appeared at the door of her apartment, and illegal substances were found in her things. Of course, she didn't even know they were there, but she understood perfectly well where this destroyer of human lives came from in her things. As soon as she arrived at the police station, she immediately said that there had been a terrible mistake, but no one believed her. And then everything was like a nightmare. Court, prison, and gloominess. It was even worse to be stabbed in the back by her ex-boyfriend. He, without blinking an eye, provided evidence against Mary. He began to tell tales about how she sold all this stuff. Did you not notice before that he was a rotten person? Herman sincerely asked in response to the woman's story. You should have run away from him. Love is blind. Mary smiled so kindly that it touched the man. I sincerely loved him. I did not expect betrayal. The man felt sorry for the woman. Her story had touched him. He loved justice, believed in the law of karma, and believed that one should always act according to conscience. It was no wonder he ran an honest business. Therefore, such injustice towards Mary greatly upset him. Why don't you apply for rehabilitation? The man insisted. I was immediately warned in prison. Just try to file a complaint against someone, and you will be charged again under the same article, but for a longer period of time. So I decided it would be better to forget everything like a bad dream. But after serving time, my nightmare didn't end. People don't want to hire me for work, and they don't want to have anything to do with me. In the end, kind-hearted Herman, unlike many others, believed the woman. Moreover, he believed that people should be given a second chance. So, the wealthy businessman decided to hire the former prisoner for work and even let her live in his house. Everything would have been good, but as soon as his fiancée Christine found out that there would be a jailbird in the same house with her, she fell into hysterics. How is that possible? She complained to Herman, theatrically wringing her hands and occasionally breaking into a shrill scream. Do you want me to live here with a real criminal? A convict? You don't value me at all. What if she cuts my throat at night? Huh? What if she steals something? Who knows what ex-convicts are capable of? Or what kind of friends she has left in the prison? What she learned there? Fire her, Herman, before it gets worse. But Herman could not fire the woman he believed in, and whose destiny was already difficult enough. Besides, there was no reason to fire her. Don't waste your breath, Christine, Herman objected wearily to his hysterical fiancée. Mary is doing her job perfectly. There's no dust in the house. Everything is clean. All the clothes are in order. Nobody else complains about her. It's just you who are driving me crazy. And you can't even see her at all. She's always busy with work. You should take her as an example, because you're getting all sorts of nonsense in your head out of boredom. Find something to do. After such words and accusations, Christine harboured even more resentment. If she couldn't vent her anger on her potential husband, then on the maid with such a grim past, why not? The woman started small. She would break something or spill a drink right on the carpet in front of Mary. Oh, I'm so clumsy. She looked at the cleaning lady with her childishly naive eyes, fluttering her eyelashes like a fan. I'm sorry. Just clean this up properly. Make sure there are no traces on the carpet. Saying this, Christine smiled cunningly and maliciously. The grin of a hyena did not fit her beautiful face at all. It's a pity she didn't risk showing this side of her nature to her fiancé. Then Christine had gone so far as to ruin her own things. Blouses, dresses and skirts. Of course, she blamed Mary for everything. The woman, in her opinion, just didn't know how to handle expensive things properly. Just look, Herman, what she has done to the cashmere sweater. She washed it wrong and now it's shrunken, the girl lamented, waving a grey sweater. This is branded knitwear and she turned it into a rag. Herman just nodded understandingly and gave Christine the green light to buy new branded knitwear. On top of all the accusations, Christine used to sting the worker with sharp words. You have such an interesting style today, Mary, the girl sneered, casting a contemptuous glance at the cleaning lady in a plain grey dress. Is it a habit from your prison life to wear such a robe, or have you always had such bad taste? Another time she wrinkled her nose and demonstratively left the room where Mary was cleaning. It smells like in prison here. Mary, open the windows and ventilate the room, the girl commanded, walking away. All the time Mary just remained silent, behaved decently, and tried not to cross paths with the harmful Christine any more than necessary. However, later on things took a more serious turn. First, Herman began to lose small sums of money, from a jacket pocket, from a wallet, a couple of bills, the loss of which Herman might not even have noticed. But one day, $300 lay on the bedside table, and he threw them into his pocket. And the next day he wanted to pay for gas and realized that his pocket was empty. I told you this would all end up like this, Christine rebuked her fiancé, but then, as if mercifully, she hugged his shoulders and whispered hotly in his ear, It's all because of your kindness. You hire wretched and mean people to work, and look, they're stealing money from you. It can't be Mary, Herman insisted. But who else could it be? Do you think it's me? But I don't even use cash. That was true. Christine had received an unlimited card from her wealthy fiancé and used it in boutiques, waving it over terminals like a magic wand. Thanks to such contactless magic, her wardrobe had grown to unprecedented proportions, and an Arab princess would have envied Christine's jewellery reserves. You need to be stricter with her, the blonde coaxed, sitting on Herman's lap for effect. She needs to be reined in, otherwise she'll get completely out of control. Today she's taking money from your wallet, but what will she do tomorrow? I'll talk to her, Herman sighed, acknowledging that the problem needed to be addressed. You need to be stricter with her, the blonde coaxed, sitting on Herman's lap for effect. She needs to be reined in, otherwise she'll get completely out of control. Today she's taking money from your wallet, but what will she do tomorrow? I'll talk to her, Herman sighed, acknowledging that the problem needed to be addressed. But he kept putting it off. At first there was a lot of work, and then it was forgotten in the busyness. And honestly speaking, he didn't want to believe that the kind-hearted Mary was a thief, although the worm of doubt gnawed at his soul. Maybe she really learned it in prison. Life there isn't easy. But as soon as the disappearance of money stopped, Christine's things began to go missing from the house. She's the one doing it, Christine shouted, throwing her dresses around the room. She stole my dresses and the perfumes too. Why would she need your dresses? Herman tried to calm his bride. Don't make a fuss. How old is she? Where would she go in your miniskirts? To a disco? Herman really didn't understand why anyone would need one of Christina's fabulously expensive but obscenely revealing outfits. Mary clearly didn't wear such things. Later, Christine noticed the disappearance of jewellery. The ring you had given me vanished. I looked everywhere, but it's exactly not in the house, she pouted, complaining about the loss to Herman. And Pandora's bracelet too, my favourite, by the way. Maybe they rolled somewhere, Herman suggested, still not wanting to believe the worst. Of course, they rolled away. Christine nodded her beautiful head. Into the pocket of your criminal. She's probably already sold them and drank the money, or whatever she used to do with stolen money. And once, getting ready for a business meeting, Herman wanted to wear one of his favourite watches. He had a whole collection of wristwatches, but the needed one wasn't in its place. That evening, Herman met with his childhood friend Ryan for a drink. "Why are you so gloomy?" Ryan asked, immediately noticing his friend's troubled look. "Did you have a fight with Christine? Or something at work?" "No, everything's great there." The man waved his hand. "There's trouble at home. Things have started to disappear." "Vanishing or something?" Ryan laughed. "So you know. Hire ghost hunters, or, as my grandmother has taught me, say 3 times, 'House elf, play a game and give it back.' Maybe you'll find the missing thing." "Very funny." Herman snorted, good-natured. "I'm telling you seriously, someone is stealing things. At first they took small things, and then expensive jewellery started disappearing from Christine's place. Today my watch is gone." "So, why haven't you gone to the police yet?" the friend asked, pouring the contents of the decanter into glasses. "I don't want to cause a commotion, you understand? I hired a woman who has already served her time. They won't bother to investigate, they'll just send her back to prison, and I can't ruin someone's life like that." "You're too kind, Herman. You have always been." Ryan shook his head disapprovingly, clinking glasses with his friend. "I don't understand how you managed to build a business with such a character. Cheers to your health." "But that's accurately why I succeeded. I didn't cheat, didn't seek extra profit, and acted with a conscience. I'll tell you this, maybe I'm not the richest man, but I sleep well and calmly, and I don't want to take sin on my soul. There are many employees in my house. I can't just blame everything on Mary." Herman answered categorically, downing the fiery drink. "She's still such a wonderful woman. I treat her like a mother. And here is such a thing, and such an unpleasant suspicion." "Do you know how we can check everything?" Ryan said hoarsely, wrinkling his nose from the strength of his drink. "You should install hidden cameras in the house and observe who's disturbing your trinkets." Herman found the idea sensible. That way, he could collect evidence and quietly resolve the situation. Deep in his soul, he hardly doubted that Mary was behind it all. But Herman had no idea that installing a video surveillance camera would only be the beginning. The first day of recording showed nothing interesting. Neither did the second nor the third. Everyone in the house was busy with their own duties, not even slacking off from work. Herman was already desperate to catch the culprit red-handed, but on the 8th day of secret surveillance of the house's life, the man noticed another disappearance. Handcrafted cufflinks of white gold, adorned with diamonds and black onyx, were missing from their box. Herman immediately turned on his laptop, opened the necessary program, and started reviewing the recording from his bedroom over the past day. He fast-forwarded through the footage of an empty room for a long time, but then stopped and paled at what he saw. His beloved and beautiful fiancée, Christine, entered the room, looking around. Gracefully swaying her hips, she walked to Herman's drawer of things, opened it, and ran her fingers over the boxes, stopping at the black one. "How could you, Christine?" the man muttered in complete shock and bewilderment, staring at the laptop screen. The reality didn't fit into his head. He gave her everything: housing, love, money. Did she do this because of Mary? Did she decide to frame her? Regardless of the righteous anger burning in the man's chest, he decided to uncover the truth and expose his fiancée. On the advice of Ryan, he hired a detective. The detective completed his job, working off every penny. It turned out that Christine's theft was only the tip of the iceberg of her lies. Her fiancé had a lover who was a compulsive gambler. He talked nonsense to Christine about how he was going to start his own business. The only problem was he never had enough money to make his dream come true. Moreover, he got into trouble and went into debt. If someone helped him, he would definitely return the money with interest. And Christine had the money, or, more precisely, Herman had earned them honestly. So she decided to help her lover at Herman's expense. A cunning plan ripened in her mind, how to frame Mary and get her lover out of debt. At first, Christine just took small sums of money, making it look like it was the cleaner. Then, Christine began to steal expensive items and pawn them, giving the money to her lover. Of course, she decided to blame Mary for the disappearance of precious things, who had a criminal past. Upon learning about his fiancée's treachery, Herman decided to be just as cunning as she was. He didn't reveal all of his cards right away. Instead, he planned to catch her in the act. One evening, he showed Mary a new ring with a huge stone that looked incredibly expensive. "Look," he demonstrated the ring. "It's worth a fortune." "You shouldn't leave it at home." The girl fluttered her eyelashes in concern. "Your dear cleaner might steal it." "I've decided to set a trap for our mysterious thief with its help," he confessed. "I'll hide it in the library, where I have a book safe, remember? I'll only tell Mary about it, so she can keep an eye on the ring. And if it gets stolen, then she's definitely guilty. After all, no one except her will know about the ring." Christine approved of the plan and was impressed by her fiancé's resourcefulness. The ring remained in place for 2 days, and then it disappeared. Herman immediately informed Christine about it. "So, is Mary the thief after all, huh? I knew it. Apparently there are no former criminals. She has no conscience. You're going to fire her, aren't you?" she exclaimed, blushing with pleasure and looking into Herman's honest sky-blue eyes. And Herman looked into them and couldn't understand how he had been so wrong. "That means you're the thief, Christine, and also a hypocritical wretch. So, pack your brand-name knit sweaters and don't you ever set foot here again." "But how could you say that?" The girl's lips trembled, tears welling up in her eyes. "You said yourself, only your convict knew about the ring." "But in fact, she didn't know about the ring," Herman admitted. "I only told you about it. Not a single living soul knew about it. It's a fake, by the way, just like you, so you can give it to your new sugar daddy. You won't make any money from it anyway." The breakup was loud and theatrical. Christine screamed, begged, pleaded. She threw herself on her knees in front of Herman, swearing her eternal love. "Give me one last chance, Herman," the girl prayed, grabbing her ex-fiancé's hands. "You forgive everyone, always help everyone. You even found work for that woman. But why am I not entitled to a second chance?" Herman was unbending. "You should have behaved yourself. If you continue to break the comedy, I'll call the police and present them with all the evidence of your thievery," Herman replied sternly. "Then we'll see who should really be behind bars, you or Mary." 6 months later, Herman found himself a new, truly lovely fiancée, Savannah. She didn't have the long legs that Christine did, and she never wore dresses with deep décolletage, but her heart was kind, and her soul was fair. They soon got married and later had 2 sons. Mary stayed with their family, not as a cleaner, but as a housekeeper. Over time, she became not just part of the staff, but a true member of the family. It's no wonder that Herman's children called her Grandma Mary. In secret from Mary, Herman learned about the fate of Jerry, the man who had betrayed the woman who loved him. He thought he should punish him for such a heinous act, but it turned out that he had been serving time in prison, and so Mary had been working for Herman until her old age. But it was not only a job, but quite a happy life, surrounded by people who appreciated her.